Hey guys, welcome back to Billy Ray Garage. Today's video we are taking out the fuel tank, the drive shafts, the transmission, and obviously the skid plate because that's in the way. So I'm gonna try and bang this out while I still have some daylight left to actually do it. So hopefully I don't have to push it off to tomorrow, so hopefully I can do this fairly quickly. But yeah, I already made a video for removing the fuel tank and the skid plate and all that stuff, so I'll post that right here. I won't go in depth on it today, but I'll go over the highlights of what you need to do that. And as far as the transmission goes, I will go in depth on that because it's a big job. More paw, less jaw. Let's get under there and start taking this thing apart. All right guys, underneath we're going to start with the fuel tank. I'm just going to give you the Cliff Notes version of how to do this. Like I said earlier in the video, up here I'll have a description leading you to the video on how to take this all down. Here's the Cliff Notes version. All right, let's see if I can get some light up in here. There we go. So if you look, let's see if I can get up in there. So there's a wiring harness right there. You got to disconnect that, a fuel line, and also under here you can see two of the bolts. One there, one there. There's another one on this side. You're gonna take that out, and then out front you're gonna have several here down the line. You're going to take them out, and also over here, yep, there goes my fuel cap. You can take these out to make it a little bit easier. These are just Phillips head screws, but there's 4 more in here that you got to take out to disconnect the fuel neck, and then that'll be clear, and then you just kind of work its way out. I'm going to do that all real quick. I'll put it up on camera, but I will not go fully into detail of what I'm doing because, like I said, I have another video. Secondly, this thing's pretty high up with the big tires, so I'm actually going to flatten them, and it should give me about an extra 8 inches or so. Some say that's too much. That's what she said. I tend to agree, but in our case, we absolutely need it. So let me deflate the tires, get this thing lower, and then we'll proceed to taking that tank out. Okay, that's over with. All right, back out of the car. What? Do some fuel. Got gas on me. Okay, that's disconnected. It's 91 octane for you. Tasty. To the side a little bit. That fuel neck's gonna get hung up on some things here. That's okay. And just keep coming down slow. Nothing crazy. Just Well, a lot of gas in here, so I can deal with that. Okay, come down the rest of the way, hopefully. Nice and slow. I think we got it. Let's get things. Mouthful of rust there. Alright, before we go any further, put that back on. There, should be good. Good enough. It is out. Has about a quarter tank of gas in it, so I've done this with like a 3/4 tank of gas in here. It sucks. This wasn't so bad. So burn your fuel or pump it out before you do this. If it sounds like I'm dying, it's because I am. I worked out, ate a chicken pot pie, now I'm crawling under a Jeep. Alright, let's get these drive shafts off and move on from there. Alright guys, we're going to disconnect the rear drive shaft since that is very accessible. So you got these little bolts here. They're 8mm, so get yourself a combination of socket wrench and box wrench and go to town. So you got 2 up here, 2 down here, and then I'm going to try and hit these guys in the back. They're kind of a pain in the dick, but we're gonna get it. So they do take a little bit to get out. They're very long, and just take your time, do it right, don't kill yourself, and let's get going. Yeah. Start all these by hand. Oh, that one was loose. That one was loose too. Huh, how about that? All right, cool. So those are started. Those were loose, and I had them Loctited, so we're going to do a better job of that when we put it back together. Alright, not as long as I remember, but these things can be a pain in the ass. So, save them, bag them, save them for later. Actually, I found them for sale. They're about $1 each, or $2 each, so if you break it or lose it, they're like $2. So, save these, bag them, we'll get the rest of this off. Okay, so this is what you got. You got a little U-shaped clamp that goes around the U-joint. These 2 bolts. We're going to get the other ones off. And this part of the drive shaft should pull in and drop down. Okay, you're done.
You want to see me do it again?
Alright, now I'm going to get these backside guys out. Let's start them like this. Just break them loose a little bit just to get a head start. That one's tough. Just for reference, these front ones are much thicker, but they're still an 8mm and they're longer. So keep that in mind when you go to put it back together. Another thing to keep in mind, do not put your head under here, under the drive shaft, just in case this thing comes falling down. It's pretty heavy and robust, so stay clear. Okay guys, to do the skid plate, you got 4, let's see if the sun's douching you here, Let's see. All right, there we go. The sun's not douching anymore. So you got these 4 little studs with 13mm bolts on them, or nuts, I should say, and these 6, well, 3 on this side, 3 on the other side, 3/4 inch bolts. That is all that is holding this thing up. So actually, these aren't even holding anything up. They're just holding the transmission from wobbling around. So you're gonna start off with these. Put a jack stand under the transmission because that bitch is gonna want to come down. And once that starts coming down, you only have 2 motor mounts holding everything together. So let's knock this out. Like I said, start with these guys. I'm gonna put a jack under here to hold the weight, and then I'm gonna zip these guys out, and then we'll slowly lower it down. All right, here we go. All right. That's out. Oh, the rust. Look at that. There we go. Oh my god, I just got douched in the face with oil. Okay, those 4 are out. So let's get our jack under here and try and mess with this. Alright guys, I'm going to take these 3 bolts out and I'm going to do the other side, and then we will lower this down. 3/4 inch socket, get on there. Good. Oh. Okay, cool. Got that. We'll get our little skid plate drop, little 1-inch sleeves / droppers. Those are there. I'm gonna knock out the other side, and then we're gonna drop this thing. This thing's kind of ready to come down right now. Okay, bolts are out. Let's see if this holds the transmission in place. We're gonna go very slow, coming down, and let's see, nice and slow, nice and slow. A little slower, gentile. Come on. I do not want to knock that jack stand out, so let me hold this from falling into that. It feels like it's got the transmission weight. Good, okay. There we go. And that's kind of how it's done. Sweet. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this jack stand, not this one, but I'm going to put another one further in the back to get more weight on the back side, because this transfer case is super heavy. So I want to get more of the weight propped up over there. So when we get rid of this, I'm getting a new one. They're like 300 bucks. If you're doing this job and it's a last ditch effort to save your vehicle and you're just trying to get another year out of it, don't bother. This thing's pretty sturdy, but it's not worth the time to clean it up. So I'm getting a new one. All right, let's get this drive shaft off, and then I'm running out of daylight, so we're gonna do the transmission tomorrow, which will still be in this video, so yay for you. Okay, just like the rear drive shaft, 8mm bolts here. There's 4 of them, and then there's 4 more here. It's pretty much the same exact setup as the back, and same thing. This will push in, actually it'll push towards the front, and it'll drop down. So I'm running out of daylight. Let me knock this out real quick, and then I'll get back to you. All right, got the bolts off there, got the bolts off this side. I don't know if this is true with every Jeep, but for some reason these were a 16-point socket, and I didn't have a socket, so I had to use a wrench, which was very time consuming. So let's yank this out. Yeah, right here. Yeah, these little 16-pointers. I only had that in an 8. So I had to use this the entire time. Yay. Alright, let's rip this thing out, and then we will be done for the night, but we will continue in the morning on getting the transmission out of here. Let's see if I can kill myself here. And then just give it a quick little yoink. There you go. All right, cool. We got a drive shaft. So it's over here. Oh my God. All right, guys, got a good amount done in about 2 hours. Got the skid plate off, drive shaft, fuel tank, and other drive shaft. So, as I promised in this video, we are gonna get the transmission out. It's just not gonna be today. Darkness is setting in. I'm scared, my vagina's cold, so we'll do this tomorrow. And there's a tropical storm coming in, so tomorrow's a Saturday, so I'm gonna get the transmission out and the engine, but the engine's gonna be a different video along with some other things. So like and subscribe for that. Let's go to tomorrow, about 3 seconds from now for you, to get the transmission out. All right, guys, we're gonna start taking out the transmission. One of the first things, well, a couple things you gotta do. Disconnect the wiring harness from the transmission. I already went ahead and did that. And now I'm gonna take out the starter. This bolt here is a 9/16, and for some reason, the one in the back that I took out already is a 14 millimeter. It's sitting right there. So they're mixing up all the sizes. So take this starter out. There's some wires up top you gotta disconnect. I will get that once they drop down because I can't get up in there. And then we will move along. All right, guys, starter is out. I just tucked it right up there. Keep it out of the way for now. When I pull the engine, I'll take care of taking the starter out because I'm gonna get a new one. But I went ahead and took out these little dust shield bolts. These two are 18 millimeter. It's a nut and bolt, and this one's just a bolt. It's a 13 millimeter. I don't know why they mix up the meters and the standards, but whatever. So next we will get this guy out of the way, and then we're going to disconnect the four-wheel drive linkage and also the slave cylinder, which is up there somewhere. So let's knock that out, and then we can move on to the big stuff. All right, guys, on to the other side of the car. We are removing the clutch slave cylinder, which is a 1/2 inch bolt, or yeah, stud bolt. I don't know what's going to come out. And then up here, the four-wheel drive linkage system. That is a 9/16. Now, I don't know if that's the same as stock because I got the cable-driven one instead of that friggin' bar monster that used to be here. I'm probably going to end up replacing all this because it looks like shit. So I will end up doing it again at some point. And then there's a little cotter pin here. Take that out, push the pin out, and throw it to the side. And then we can move on to the actual removal of the transmission. Yay! So let me bang this all out and then we'll move on to the next step. Alright, let's go over what we just did. So we got the slave cylinder taken out. We got the bracket for the four-wheel drive system taken out, sitting right here. Had to cut it out. That little pin right there did not want to cooperate and come out, so I chopped it. I also disconnected the shifter. There were 4 8mm bolts up there. So just back them out, push that up, so that's disconnected. And also, I took the wiring harness, which is all right there. That goes all the way back to the fuel tank, connects onto the transmission, some of these sensors up here, and got rid of that. And then also up here, I'll zoom in on it, but there are 2 11mm bolts. There's a sensor that goes into the transmission. Got that out. That's part of that same wiring harness. It's hanging out over there. And also I took the transmission mount off. These were 2 16mm bolts. Sitting right there. So now to the fun part, getting the transmission off. So obviously get a transmission jack or whatever is suitable for getting this off. Now this thing is heavy as fuck. Respect it. Do not, you know, treat it like it's an LS transmission that's, you know, 150 pounds, whatever. With the transfer case and everything, this thing is heavy. So you're gonna have a 5/8 bolt here, 5/8 bolt on the other side, and up top there are 2 E12 bolts. I'll show you in a second. So right here, E12. It's a little star pattern, 6 bolt or 6 star pattern bolt. Don't know why they did that, but they did. So those are up top. There's 2 of them, and then after we unbolt all that, get yourself a little pry bar because that'll come in handy. And also, I do not recommend using an impact gun on that because that'll raise or lower your transmission way faster than you want it to. So just use a ratchet. All right, let's start taking this thing apart. Oh geez, I got smudge my face. How did I do that? Good enough. Whatever. All right, let's start wrestling this transmission out and hope it doesn't crush me. And one other thing, you want to put a jack with like a 2x4 or 2x8, whatever I got under there, under the engine, because that thing is heavy and you do not want it coming down. So put something under there just to hold it up and support it, because the engine's coming out later. So I'm going to leave that there just to prop the engine up. And now we will do this. All right, guys, I'm going to try to show you as best as possible, but let's see. I'm going to start with the 5/8 little bastards over here on the side. So I'm going to take this guy out. So we got one. Then we'll go to the other side and do that one. Okay, number 2. Put that in there. Alright guys, now onto the top bolts. Those E11s, or E12s I should say. Get a bunch of extensions together and bring it out over here so you can actually reach it. It's tough to get your hand in there. Right up there. It's tough to get your hand in there, so get all the extensions you can and put an impact on it. It'll make life easier. Figures might be too much flex in there. So let's shorten it out. Alright guys, there's our little star guy that we had to get off. So that's one of them. So the long extension, I think it was just had too much like play in it, and it wasn't giving it enough torque to get it off. So shortened it up, stuck it above the transmission, and obviously got it out. So let me knock out the other side, and then we'll try and fight this transmission out. Alright guys, having some technical difficulties there. I'm gonna figure something out. I'll get back to you when I figure that out. Alright guys, got it off. Had to go to the air gun, so that worked beautifully. And just for reference, when you go to put it back together, your transmission breather is bolted through this dopey bolt on the passenger side to this little bracket. It holds it up, keeps it out of the way. So you put it back together, remember that this goes with that. All right, now we should have a free and clear transmission. Let's try and get this bitch down. Okay, we're gonna try and get this transmission off. I got my pry bar handy. I'm gonna try and show you this best I can, but we will see what happens. So first of all, let's lower the transmission so the engine sits on that block. Okay, so I don't want to put too much pressure on that oil pan. Just a smidge. All right, let's see if we can do some wiggles. Oops, shifter's in the way, of course. Stick you there. We may have to come down lower, because it seems like the engine's facing this way and the transmission's more this way. So let's lower it a little bit more. All right, that's about as far as I want to go. So let's try this again. All right, let's do a little pry action again. And let me go on the other side, pry that. So if you look up here, right there, there's a 13mm bolt. I don't know if that's holding this up, but I'm going to take it off anyway. And there probably is one on the other side. So let me knock that out real quick. And then hopefully this thing will come off, because I have a feeling that this thing's getting hung up on that. Alright guys, I took those two little screws out. I think that may have been holding this up. So like I said, I'm going to throw my body under the transmission. I do not recommend this at all, but just for times. Oh, there we go. We're moving. We're moving. We are off. So that was good. Alright, so it should kind of want to come out. And I'm going to come down a little bit more. Oh, it's so close. Where's my pry bar? Go on, motherfucker. There it is. Alright, now this thing's gonna crush me if I do not. Oh my god, this thing wants to come down on me. Alright, let's see. Let's see if we can spin that. Bring it down a little bit more. I think my input shaft's clear. So as you can see, that's our clutch. This thing wants to turn on me. We're clear, so I'm going to come down the rest of the way. I do have it sitting on my leg. Again, not recommended. But at least we're out. Okay. Jesus Christ, this thing's heavy. Let's see if we can shimmy this thing up a little bit on here so we can get in a better position. Okay. So it seems like it wants to be about right there. Come on, Billy Ray, you do squats. You got this. There we go. Okay. Alright, let's see if I didn't lower this thing too much and drag this thing out. That wasn't supposed to happen, but it did, so oh well. Alright, here we go. Yeah. Okay. Alright guys, for future reference, if you go to this yourself, right about there is center of gravity. So, yeah, don't use your leg and body like I did, and don't drop it like I did. Use the little strap that it comes with. Mine broke, but whatever. We're off. This thing's gonna get all the work done to it. That was a pain in the dick. Hit that subscribe button if you've ever had this little clip for your pilot bearing fork corrode and break on you. Let's see if I get a light in there. I think it's unscrewing you. Yeah, that little clip. I've had that rust out and it screwed everything up. So this thing started flopping around in here. I had no clutch, so that was fun. So yeah, smash that subscribe button if you've ever had that happen to you. Alright guys, that about does it for this video. Got a lot done. Drive shafts, fuel tank, transmission. We're going places. Not college, but we're going places. Alright, so do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Like, comment. Tell me how you would do it differently. Tell the world how you would do it differently. And make everybody's life easier. Obviously, if you have a lift, it makes it a lot easier. And all the right stuff, but I'm just a little dopey at-home garage mechanic. And I use the word mechanic lightly. I just fuck around and it works, usually. So thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.